morning and welcome to the Thursday Atelier here at Secret Garden Mercantile and Country Brocante. We're in Seebeck, Washington, and I'm Christine, and today we're going to be doing a small project, some little vignettes that are made in shadow boxes, just simple little boxes, but we're going to be adding some beautiful touches to them with our Christmas Joy transfer from IOD and some other little transfers, as well as some decoupage, some paint, and even some textures and possibly some stenciling to build our little magical holiday vignettes. So let's get started. We'll get started now, and I wanted to just show you a little bit about what the plan is for today. I found these little shadow boxes at Michael's, and they're 4 inches by 6 inches actually. They actually started out like this. They're one of these, I think, Make Market ones, and they have a little string on the back, which is perfect, and a little hanger as well. However, I wanted mine, my first one anyway, to be vertical, not horizontal. So I decided that I would take it apart a little bit. So I took off that hanger, and I took out the staples for the string, and I'm just going to make it into a little dainty shadow box. I also drilled a little hole in the back of it because the idea that I have, and I don't know how this is all going to work out, but we'll see, is to use, I have a few of these Tim Holtz Ideology. I have the tiny lights, and they're little teensy little lights, and battery powered, and I thought if I can attach this to the back, and I left a space for that underneath the hole, and I can string the lights in through the hole into the shadow box. So that's kind of my plan. And also I found in my things that I was looking around at, I found these die cuts. This was a Tim Holtz die cut that I found, and I thought maybe I could make use of this because it almost fits, along with some maybe trim and that kind of thing and I liked kind of the look of that. I'm not sure if I like it, so I may end up painting over it, but for right now, at least it kind of fits on the box. And also, this is the most important part probably of the whole plan, and that is to use the new Iron Orchid Designs transfer, and it's called Christmas Joy. It's 8 by 12 sheets, and they're just lovely. And I was just taken by this little picture in the front of Santa in his workshop, and I just thought, in his toy workshop, and I thought, oh boy, that would be perfect inside of my shadow box. And so what I did was I went in here and I found that particular transfer. Here it is, and I cut it out a little bit. I also like these little berries around the outside, so I might make use of those. So we'll see. The other pictures that are in this transfer, again, I can put well, I can't really put the tripod down much lower, but maybe I can a little bit so you can see them up close. Anyway, there's some wonderful ones with the bells. We've got wording, best Christmas wishes, a little car with kids in it and Santa, birds, and all kinds of, this is kind of it sort of is a vintagey country cottage type thing, kind of a old-fashioned type of Christmas print. This is a beautiful one with the trees and the holly. So there's all kinds of possibilities, gorgeous pastoral scenes with homes. So all kinds of possibilities in this transfer. But we're going to start out with this one. But first I have to prep my box, so I'm going to start doing that. The other thought that I had was to put some decoupage paper around the outside of the box. So number one, first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and paint up my box. Okay, I'm going to paint the back of the box and the sides with the Amy Howard at Home Stoneware chalk paint. And I think this one will be good because it will, if I want to put some decoupage paper on it, this will be good as a background. You always want to put light paint underneath your decoupage if possible to pick up the colors on the decoupage a little more. They become more vivid and visible. So I'm just going to paint this up really quickly, and I'm going to paint my sides as well. I'm not worrying too much about these little holes in it because those are the leftover holes from the fasteners that were in the box, but I don't need to worry about those because I'll be covering it with decoupage paper. Okay, I think what I'm going to be using for my back on my decoupage paper is this. Actually, this is a graphic that I got. I think I got this off of Graphics Fairy, which I subscribe to. But and it's a little. It's the lyrics from and the music from Jolly Old St. Nicholas. So I thought that would be perfect. And then it goes on to up on the housetop at the bottom here too. So I think that will be perfect for the back with my little old Santa in the inside. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of position this on here. It needs to be centered in the on the back of the piece and of course straight. So I want to do that, and I'm going to just kind of fold it here around the sides of it so I can get a feel for where it's going to go on my piece and try to get it as centered as possible and as straight as possible. And then I will go ahead and cut it out based on those fold lines. And it's okay if I have a little bit overlapping, because then I can go ahead and sand that right off of it once I get my decoupage glue on there and get it affixed to the shadow box. So that's what I'm going to do, is cut this out just like that. Just simple, just a little simple cutting. Make sure I've got it on the right spot. The fold isn't real visible sometimes, so you got to be careful a little bit. And then, okay, so I've got that ready, hopefully, to go on here. Yep, it's pretty darn close. So we'll do that. And then I'm going to be using decoupage. It's a Paint Couture decoupage medium matte. It's decoupage medium that has a matte finish to it. And I just want to shake it up really well because I haven't used this one for a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and put some of that on there. And with decoupage, let's see if I can get it open. I might need my I need my 5-in-1 tool because I, again, haven't had this open for a bit. So I'm gonna use that to open it a bit. It's just with these jars, they have a plastic lid on them, so you can just kind of loosen the bottom without breaking the plastic on the jar lid, and then they just come right open, I find, with that. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then just get a clean brush here and put this right here so you can see what I'm doing. Put the 5-in-1 tool aside, and with this I'm going to be going ahead and just putting some decoupage medium onto my shadow box. And with a small project like this, you can certainly put it on the whole piece. I think, I can put it on the whole back of it. Sometimes when I have a larger project, it's a better idea to do half at a time, or even quarters at a time. It depends if you're doing a furniture piece or something like that. You can certainly do it with less stress if you do it, portion at a time. So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and do the whole thing because I think I should be able to finesse it on there. And then we're going to put on our piece. And again, this is one of those things, once again, like a lot of the different things that we do, that we kind of want to get it right when we get started and get it nice and straight on here. And so there we go. We've got it pretty well straight on the piece, I think. Yep. And we want to make sure that it's nice and flat. We can use also a little brayer on this if we want. I think in this case it's so small that we can rub it down with our hands and just make sure it doesn't have any bubbles or anything underneath it. The thing is, when you rub this, or if you're using a brayer or whatever you're doing with it to smooth down the paper on it, you don't want to do it too hard because it can actually tear your paper pretty easily. So you don't want that to happen. So I'm going to go ahead now and put on another layer of my decoupage medium on it. And this, again, is a time when you want to use a light touch. You don't want to use too much friction on it because you can cause tearing with it, and it will all just kind of, absorb down into the paper, and that's the whole idea, is to make it kind of one with the wood. So we've got just a little spot left to do it. You do, at the same time as you don't want to overdo it, you certainly don't want any holidays in this. So, and try not to go back over it very much. That can be a problem if you try to go over it, especially as it, see, and I'm starting to try, because that's just the way I am. I love to fiddle with it, but in order to, you don't want to go over it too much, because as it tacks off, it has more possibility of tearing. So that's not a good thing, obviously. You don't want your paper to tear. So I'm just going to wrap my brush in a little wet wipe right now, because I think that I'm going to be using it for the sides pretty quickly here. So I want to keep it damp, but I don't want to soak it and get it wet so that I have to start over. And I'm going to go ahead and blow dry this again, and then I'll show you how I sand the edges with it. So I'm going to just go ahead and give it a light sand away from my paper, okay? So, and you're just going to give this a little light sand in order for it to come loose, the edges of it to come loose. The other thing to keep in mind, now this isn't tearing real easily, so I might have to do a little more. Wish I had my little nail file ones. I think they're out in the coop, so out in my little warehouse area. But right now, my storage out there, but and now it's tearing away. You see that? And you can also tear decoupage medium with water, but you got to do that before you put it on the piece. So for this works the best, I find, to do your, just sand it away. The other thing is you don't want to, you can see where it gets a little roughed up here, so you don't want to get too close in onto your printed area of the decoupage. So, because you're going to kind of make a mess of it. And also, when you're doing this, you don't want to, when it's still just slightly tacky, which it's pretty dry right now, but if it's a little tacky, you don't want to be holding it tight with your thumb or your fingers, because you might, again, tear your paper. So you want to make sure not to do that. So here we go. I'm just kind of, again, I'm not trying to hold it too tightly with my thumb there, because I might end up tearing the paper. So I'm going to let loose with that a little bit. Okay. Okay, that's good. And I'll be sealing over the top of this also, so no worries that way. The other thing I want to do is go ahead and poke a little hole in my, where I made my drill hole for this. So I'm just going to take my little bamboo and poke a little hole in there with my finger behind it so that it doesn't tear the decoupage paper very much, and then poke through to get it to go the other direction as well. So there you go. When I drilled this hole, I did it with my, I have a little drill, a mini drill press, and I find it's really helpful for these little projects. It's a Dremel drill press, and I was able to kind of drill the hole in it, and then on this side, and then kind of elongate it a little bit, because I just wasn't sure how that wire was going to fit through. So okay, that's it. Oh, I was going to also say that when you do print out decoupage paper, and you can certainly do that from printed things that you're able to get off of the internet, patterns and so forth. This is a little crooked, I noticed, but I think it's perfectly within tolerance, so I think it's fine. We'll just tilt it that way. Anyway, but when you are interested in printing things off of the internet, whatever, you need to be careful of a few things. First of all, you need to make sure that it's not a trademark thing that you cannot print. So many things can be used for personal but not commercial use, and you have to be careful about reading the things the requirements and the restrictions on whatever you come up with from the internet. The other thing is that when you print things, you usually want to print them on a laser printer. I have a nice laser printer that I'm able to print at least up to A4 size prints. Now it doesn't, I don't have a huge fancy laser that can print much larger, like A3 size and that kind of thing. I wish I did, and maybe someday when I'm wealthy I'll be able to do that, but at this point it doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon. I do have another printer that is I believe it's a pigment based printer, and that actually can work too. The reason why I say you can't use you can use laser or that type of pigment based ink, I believe it is in my other photo printer, is that if you use just a regular inkjet printer, it actually will, when you put the decoupage medium on it, it tends to bleed, and you'll be very frustrated with that. So I would suggest don't try to do that. You can try, though, putting over some sort of sealer on it. I've seen people use spray sealers, you know, and had some luck with those. So you can certainly do that. To me, they're kind of smelly and I don't like them. So anyway, I stick with my laser printer because that seems to take the decoupage medium really well. Okay, so now the next step is that we're going to go ahead and work on the sides of this and go ahead and decoupage that. And the paper that I printed for this one is, I just love actually, and that is, it's this little vintage stripe paper. And I subscribe to a site that is actually, it's Pink Lemonade is what it's called, but anyway, and she's a great person, and she's I'm learning Photoshop from her with her online tutorials. And so this is one of the papers that's part of the membership that I subscribe to, and so I'm going to use some of that and directly. I didn't modify this, but I'm using it for a piece here, so I'm allowed to do that. But I'm going to go ahead and do the same process that I did before, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. And it's pretty simple, really. I'll make sure that I get enough. The main thing is to cut big enough. If you cut too small, that can be a problem. This is pretty narrow, so it's not that big of a deal. But here we go. Let's see if it'll fit on there. Okay. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be great. I do have a little part here that looks like I didn't get with the on the edge with the sandpaper, so I'm going to go ahead and try to sand that off. Yeah, it comes peeling right off now when I do that, so I just missed it before. Sometimes that can happen. It's hard to see the white rice paper on the, or the mulberry paper, I'm not sure. I think it's Japanese mulberry paper, but it's hard to see that on the white paint sometimes, so you've got to kind of keep an eye out for it. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do with that, and then I think I'm just going to go ahead and cut 4 more of these, approximately the same size, and I'm going to go off camera to do that. Okay, I'm all ready now. I'm going to unwrap my brush here, and hopefully it'll be still somewhat damp, and I'm going to put some more decoupage medium on the top of this to start out with, and then I'll do the sides. So this is how I'll do it, is just put this on here nicely like that. And of course these guys are a little on the long side because I cut them all the same, but oh, this one I'm going to put it there because the other side wasn't completely straight. So I'm going to make sure that I straighten it up nicely because the stripes really show if you've got it on crooked. So okay, so here's the way I'm doing it, and I'm making sure right along the edges to make sure that it's nicely flattened down too. So I've got a little bit of a crooked line here. Actually, I think it's going to be okay. Well, it's a little bit, but I'm not too worried about that. So that's my famous last words. I'm not too worried about that. So, and then I'm just going to go ahead and cut off my end here so that it's not hanging all the way over. And I've got a little bit of a overhang, but not too much, and then go ahead and put on my next coat of decoupage over the decoupage medium, I should say, over the top. So that's going to be that. Okay, and again, don't overdo it with it, and I'm just going to fold that down over the side of the piece. And I'm going to do these one at a time, along with the drying of it, so that I make sure that I get a good seal of each one. Okay, we're going to get on to our next step of our project, and I need to paint the interior of the shadow box. When I was thinking about this, I looked at my image, which is the little Santa Claus picture making things in his little in his workshop, Santa's workshop. And so the thing that stood out to me was this green dress on the little girl and on the doll. And so I thought I would maybe use a paint that would highlight that. So I chose this basil tone of Paint Couture mineral paint, and this is actually a new line that we are going to be, it's not new, but to us, we're going to be actually stocking these little paints. They come in all different sizes, but I bought a set of the 2-ounce to trial it. So today is going to be one of my first trials with it, and it's the Paint Couture mineral paint, and we will be having it in stock soon. So stay tuned to see how things go with it, but I'm pretty excited about using this paint. So I'm just going to get started with that and see how it works. And I'm going to use a nice soft brush. These are just little Amazon brushes that I've gotten. Oops, I'm going to drip a little all over my piece here, but and I think I'm going to go ahead and paint this outside rim as well. So so that should be covered that way. Just going to paint along it and paint this inside of my piece, and I'm going to paint all of the different surfaces, the side, everything. So I'm going to paint, and I love this color already, so I think it's great for the project that we're working on. This is going to have a lot of nice color to it. So I'm just going to paint away here. Okay, so now I am ready. I got this all painted, and I did use the blow dryer to dry it very nicely, and actually it seems like it has really good coverage, and it went on very smoothly. It's a nice matte finish. Of course, this is the part we decoupaged earlier, so all of that is set. And then we're going to, I'm going to cut out a little closer my little Santa in his workshop piece of the transfer here. So I'm just going to cut around that nicely and closely. Oop, almost cut into it, so you have to be careful about that, obviously, and you don't want to do that. Okay, so that is that, and then I'm thinking of using these later, so we'll see about that. And the important thing will be for this to get it kind of centered in my little box. So once again, I think I'm going to go ahead and measure it and see exactly where I'm going to be with that. So here we are, almost at, well, precisely actually at 4 inches. So at 2 inches is going to be our center. And here we go with that. And and we have the grid line right down the center of it, so that's perfectly helpful. And then I'll need to center it on here in the box as well. And then I'm going to take off my transfer, and I just need my little application stick for the transfer, so I'm going to take care of that to get that. So I'm going to take off this backing, go ahead and get the transfer positioned here in place and as centered as I can do visually lengthwise. and try to make it as straight as possible as well. And I'm just going to lay it down. Oh, it looks like it's a little off, but I think we're going to be close there. So I'm just going to keep it as is instead of trying to pick it up, especially because this paint is still kind of fresh, so I don't want to get anything ruined that way. Don't need to be pulling paint off with my transfer because the transfer will not adhere if that's the case. So, okay, now I'm having a little issue with trying to lift it up too. Get my transfer started here. Oh, it's really sticking. Okay, here it comes up. I don't know why it was sticking so much. I think it's just kind of was adhering somehow to the wood underneath it. It's kind of that really dry wood. Ah, still it's doing the same thing. Okay. I just can't let go of it at this point. So I want to get it nicely adhered down here. This is a solid transfer piece, so it's kind of nice that way because it makes it a little easier in some ways to get it all in one piece. But as it is, I'm still looking at it to make sure that I get it right. Okay, there's our transfer on there, and I'm just going to burnish it just a little bit with this, with the smooth side of my cover that I had on the transfer, and just to make sure it's well adhered, which I'm sure it is because it was going on really well onto this. So there we go. And next step will be to try the cover for it. And here is a little cover that I actually had from the die cuts from Tim Holtz, and I think it was probably last year's release, if not the year before, I'm not sure. And I think I might have a couple of these available on my website, the sets that this comes from, and they're wonderful. They have all kinds of different designs. So the question is, do I like it with the with this wood look and the holly? I kind of do, but on the other hand, I feel like it's a little busy for my design. So I'm trying to figure out if I want to maybe paint it a more simple color and then put some trim around it and maybe some stamping or some stenciling on it. So that's going to be my decision that I have to think about for the next few minutes. Okay, I've had a few minutes to think about how I want my project to look, and although I really like this little die cut, I think I'm going to commit a kind of a travesty, and I'm going to paint over it. And the reason why is because I think it may actually detract from the actual image of the Santa in there because it's so busy. And so I think I'm going to use some paint over it that will highlight the blues in the picture here, in the Santa picture, if you can take a look at that. And I chose this, again, from the Paint Couture Mineral Paint. I chose this color, it's called Deep Lake, and I'm going to try that on it. I was trying to think if I wanted to use the Midnight Blue, which also would be an option with it, but I think that might be a little too dark. So I'm going to go ahead and paint this piece up, and bear with me as I do that, because we don't know how it's going to turn out exactly, but hopefully it will be fine. Hopefully this paint will cover nicely on there. So, so here we go. Okay, now the next step for us is to go ahead and install the lights that we had talked about inside our little shadow box. I think this is going to give it a nice little glow. So I have, again, this little set of lights, the tiny lights from Tim Holtz, and I do have a couple of these packs at least in stock if you're looking for those. And I'm going to go ahead and string it through my little hole in the back of the piece. So that's what I'm up to now. And I'm just going to pull this all the way through nicely and smoothly as much as possible. And it only goes to a certain point, and then this will actually need to sit on the side, I guess. Or I can mount it to my base. I figured out a base that I'm going to be putting on this. So, and I think the best way for me to do it after I did a little experimentation is with this little tape glue. So I'm going to install some of that onto my piece here so that I can lay my lights into it. So I'm just going to run it right down here like this over my transfer on both sides. And the nice thing about this is you won't see it much, I don't think. Oh, that kind of went on in the background of this, hopefully not. So I'm going to just run my little tape runner across here like that, and then lay the lights into it so that they stick. I think that'll work pretty well if I get a nice bend in the wire here. We'll see how this all turns out. It's a little sketchy, but I think it might be okay. So I'm just going to lay it in here. Now these lights are pretty long. Oh, it's pulling up already, so I pulled it too taut, I think. These lights are pretty long, so I definitely need to double them up as I go along. So we're going to do that. I just want to make sure I get good adherence here for them. And they don't want to stick too well here. But I think if they get the right idea and the wire bends in the right way, then we should be okay once we put our cover on it. So here we go. Just going to keep pushing it down into the sticky taped area as much as I can to let it know how to bend itself inside of here. And then hopefully it'll adhere enough so that it'll stay in place, and if it gets its own idea, then it should be okay too. I may put some glue over the top of it, I'm not sure yet, but I think it might be okay the way that I'm doing it in here. So I'm just going to keep pushing it down and pushing it down, and the whole idea is not to have a bright light in here, but just a little bit of a glow, hopefully, on our piece, or inside of our piece. So that's what I'm trying to do here. Okay, so I've got that kind of glued down in there, and I'm going to put up my little tape dispenser, and then I'm just so I know what this kind of looks like, I'm going to put this over the top of it, and you can see the lights a little bit, but I think that's okay. When I turn them on, it should give a little bit of a glow. So there we go into it. So it's kind of neat because it actually does look like a little electricity around his workbench. So I think we're good. Anyway, so that's that piece of it, and it does give a nice magical lit up look to it. So very sweet. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it off now. And then I'm going to continue to work on this piece because I do definitely want to embellish it somewhat, and I got to figure out how I'm going to do that. The next step is going to be embellishing this frame that's going to go on the front. So, and what I'd like to do along with the blue is use this this beautiful stencil, and this is from the Tim Holtz collection. I actually am in the process of ordering these right now because I love this stencil. So we should have them in stock quite soon for the holidays. So, because it's kind of hard to get your hands on them. So, but I'm going to put some of these little stars in different areas on my stencil, and I have an idea of putting some transfers possibly on this the stars on the frame, and maybe some transfers as well. But I want to kind of position this over my piece here and see how it looks. I think the little ones are the better size for this right now, so that's what I'm going to be starting to use, I think. And I'm going to be doing this with the metallic gold. It's the gel art ink from a maker studio, and we definitely do have this in stock, I know. So what I'm going to do with that is I'm just going to put a little bit out. I think I'm just going to put it right here on my craft paper, and I'm going to use this little, it's a little sponge makeup pad, and I get these in bulk because they work so well. This is a little thicker than just regular ink or paint, and so it works really well on these types of stencils. So I'm just going to pat away a little bit, kind of blot into this stencil while I'm holding it down here, so that not too much goes underneath, and that it doesn't, and I'm holding the stencil a little bit so it doesn't flop around either. So here we go, we're just putting a little bit on there, and I'm just going to do kind of an overall look, and if it's not full coverage, that's really okay with me right now. I guess I might incorporate this larger one right here. I'm going to hold it down with my finger around the stencil. Again, if it's not full coverage, it's okay. I just want that kind of the hint of the stars on it so that it gives it kind of that glow, that magical glow. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this. Okay, that's where we stand right now. It looks pretty good. It has a lot of shimmer to it. However, I'd like a little more over on this side. I did blob this one a little too much. I got a little heavy-handed there. But I would like to get a few more. I'm not sure if these are dry yet. Feels pretty good. I think I'm safe putting my stencil back on it, but I'd like to get a few more stars over in this area. So I'm going to go ahead and try that in an area where there's not very many here. And right in there. These little stars are so pretty. Anyway, so glimmery. And then over in this area too, I don't see very many, so I'm going to do a couple more in that area. I think I put out too much gel here, but that's okay. It goes a long ways, honestly, so that's good. Oops. You don't want your stencil to be bouncing around, so that's one of the key things to doing this, obviously. I'm sure that other people probably are more proficient at stenciling than I, but I enjoy doing it. I'm starting to kind of get the hang of it, so that's why I'm trying to use it more. So there's pretty good. I still would like just a little more glimmer over here on this side, I think. So I'm going to put another star right in there, and maybe one up in here. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. We've got it. Oh, wait. How about down here? I think this may be an area I'm going to cover anyway, but with what I'm envisioning, but we don't know. So let me make sure to get it all covered here as well as I can. Actually, I found that as this kind of dried, it works almost better than it did to begin with. So that's kind of good. There we go. Oh, I did pounce a little much, and it didn't come out quite as detailed and as clear, but that's okay. We're getting the idea of the stars here, and I probably will touch up just a little bit, but in the meantime I want to get this stuff off of my stencil to preserve my stencil, so I'm just going to clean that up right away because I don't want anything sticking on here. So it will come right off if I clean it right away, and then I can also wash it a little later on with some soapy water as well, so just a regular soapy water, but it comes right off with a wet wipe. So that's nice. And these stencils, you can use them so many times for so many projects, as long as you don't bend them too much or get them too messed up and clogged up with paints. So I always try to keep them pretty intact as much as possible. So got a little bit of extra there. I'm not sure where that came from, but we'll try to get that going. All right, there. So, and then I'm just going to wipe up this excess on my workspace so it doesn't go all over into everything. So, but I think that's a good start for that piece. Okay, now the next step will be to go ahead and secure this piece. I've got my my little coil of lights in here, and I actually did add just a couple spots of hot glue onto it too, just to keep them in place a little better, because I was a little worried about them flipping around. So wanted to secure those. So I'm going to use my tried and true, the Titebond Quick and Thick. It's a multi-surface glue, and I'm just going to go ahead. I've got to look and see where my piece goes here. It doesn't go all the way down. So I'm gonna just go ahead and try to put it on as close to the edge as possible. I have to get it started here. You know, somebody would invent a glue that always was right at the surface, ready to go. That would be totally amazing as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, and I don't think I have time to do it to invent anything like that with all the projects that I've been working on. And trying to edit YouTubes at the same time, so it's not going to happen, I'm afraid. But I need an inventor that can do that, I think. Oh, that's a big blob is floating down there. So the nice thing about having this piece of paper on my work surface, the craft paper, is that I can just use it to wipe off whatever I need to. So that's why I always have it here. I think I'm going to try investing also in some little silicone mats, because I think that would be nice to have as well, because they're kind of non-stick for things. So I'm just going to put the rest of this on here and try to center and place my little cover here. I think this is really coming together. I really like how it has sort of, so far, kind of that cottage appeal. That's kind of what I was going for, so I'm pretty thrilled with that. I'm just going to wipe off some of this excess glue here because it's kind of messy on my piece. I think it looks just kind of, it has that, just that allure of kind of the old, oh, I don't like that I got that on here. Hopefully none of my other stuff will see. And that was good. After my stars had dried, they don't wipe off easily even with the wet wipe, so that's good. So I can get a little messy and I'm still okay. There, got a little bit in there too, so I want to get that off of there. Okay, so I think we're good there. Pretty good anyway. I think we're a little bit straight, a little bit crooked there, but yeah, I think that looks pretty good on there now. Whoop. As far as centering it on the piece. And then I just need to figure out what other kind of trim and bling I might want. I'm thinking of doing a little rim of some German glass glitter around there, and I think I probably will, possibly some down here, but also I had an idea for some other things, so we're gonna look into the possibilities here of embellishing it further. Okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and add some of these holly, well, I don't know if they're holly berries or what they are. They look like holly because they're pointed leaves, but they look almost like a mistletoe here too. So maybe a bundle of holly and mistletoe together, that's what I think. And I think I'm going to go ahead and add these up at the top. They're just some little transfers that, again, were in the Christmas Joy, and we do have this in stock, by the way, at secretgardenmercantile.com, and I'll have a link down below to the shop. But I'm going to go ahead and add these onto the top of my piece because I have something special that I plan to put on the bottom as well. So I'm just going to position this kind of as close to the edge as I can while still having the stems in place, and it's going to go over the opening, and that's okay because we can just cut that off of there. So I'm just going to put that on there and then burnish it down with my applicator stick, and we'll see how this does as far as adding to my piece. I'm just covering right over the stars, and because they'll be in the background still. I think this will add to it a little bit, give it that extra little pizzazz that it needs. And this comes out, it's designed to be, it's part of the same transfer, although, you know, you can feel free with these. They're so great and so versatile that you can definitely feel free to mix and match between transfer sets without any difficulty, and they look great. Okay, and so I think I'm looking pretty good here as far as this piece. I don't have any extra pieces that aren't, and then this is just going to go over the edge, and I'm just going to cut that off of there. So So, and then I'm going to do, I think, the same on the other side with this transfer. Not sure what I did with my scissors all of a sudden, but and again, I'm going to center it in the corner as much as I can and as close to the edge as possible to get the stem in place on it still. And there we go. I think that's pretty good. And I'm just gonna go ahead and burnish this on and see what we got here. Just to add a little more to it. And we're going for that kind of old world cottage style look. And I think this really does that very nicely. I think there was a little piece not sticking there that was on one of the stars, so I'm going to go back in there and make sure that's sticking well. Particularly want to make sure that all my berries are intact too. So I got to do that. Okay, I think that's pretty good. The bottom of my stem here, and we're good. Okay, so we just need to get this out of there, and then again burnish down with the shiny side, and just very lightly. You know, you want to do it nice and carefully so that you don't tear away at your transfer. Yeah, that's good. I kind of do it with my fingers too, but I think that that really adds to it. I just need to. I'm just going to scrape away at this with my fingernail. I think the transfer piece will come right off of that edge. So I'll get those pieces out of there. And look at that. That's beautiful. Yep, that adds to it definitely. Yeah, and now we just need a little more something to balance out of the bottom. And what I had planned is to add this one. This is from the Tim Holtz Ideology, the little word plaques, and I think this will look really nice on there. This is a perfect one for Season of Magic is what it says. So I think that'll go really well on there. I'm not so sure that I like the bronze look of it with the gold that I have going on. So what I had thought is that I will do a little bit of the gold leaf rub and buff on it, and we'll just see how that goes. Hopefully it won't ruin the thing, but I'm just thinking that maybe that'll, yeah, I like that actually. It's giving it a little more gold look to it. So that's what I was looking for. I don't want to do it too heavily. I just want it mainly over the lettering. It's going on to a little bit of the rest of it, but I think that's pretty nice. It's going to turn out pretty nice here. And I just rub it on with my finger, and I can, you know, I find that the rub and buff, it works really well with the finger. You get it in the grooves. It's not that, you can wear a glove also, and it's probably advisable to do so because it's a solvent-based product, but you can also just wipe it right off with a wet wipe, so it's not really that big of a problem that way to get it off your fingers, is what I mean. So if you're concerned about, you know, your manicure and that kind of thing, you can definitely get it off easily. Okay, and that is that, and it still shows kind of the dark in the background, and I really like that. I think it'll go well with our gold on our piece. So that'll go on here, and then I've got these little, tiny, wherever they went, they're so tiny that now I can't find them. But I've got some little tiny little nuts or bolts, or actually little screw heads, I guess they are, that go over the top of this. So I'm going to find those while I and get this all organized, and we'll be back and hear that, and we'll be getting pretty close. I want to also add a little base to the bottom of my piece, so, but we're getting very close to being done with it, it looks like. Okay, while I was off camera, of course, I was fiddling around, and I started thinking that I would really like to have another transfer piece on the bottom to kind of balance things out. So I was looking at this piece, and it is actually from the Santa's Hollow, which is a lovely set of transfers as well. And it has some little tendrils of holly and holly leaves and berries here. And I thought I could cut that out very carefully, and I'm going to use my little fussy cut scissors here to do that, just right in between this piece and the next piece. And again, like I said, this is the wonderful thing about these transfers, is they are definitely, you can use them, you know, they're versatile, so you can go between transfers and use them on the same piece. I liked the color of this one, and that's why I chose it. I was thinking of a bigger holly piece from the Santa's, the Christmas Joy, but I kind of liked this one. So I'm going to put this one on the bottom and just kind of center it on here. And then of course my little sign is going to be over the top of it. That's how it's going to go. But I'm going to try to straighten it up here on here, and then go ahead and, again, as always with the transfer, just burnish it on. It's so easy. Okay, there we go. We're perfectly on there. And again, we'll just scrape the edges a little bit in order to get those cleaned up. And it gives that extra little bit, that extra embellishment that I think we were looking for on our piece here. So I think it's really quite nice. This one stuck down on the edge, which is fine. I mean, that's great, actually. You could lead it right over the edge and onto the back, for that matter, if you chose to. So, but I didn't necessarily want to do that on mine. So there we go at this point. And then we're going to go ahead and put on our Season of Magic, our little sign onto it, which, oh, it'll be so pretty. I love it. So I'm going to go ahead, and that one is going to be, again, the Quick and Thick glue. So that's going to be that. I'm going to do my Quick and Thick on this. I'm not trying to get quite as much glue on it, though. It does come out pretty with quite a bit. So I might just douse it a little bit. I might give it a little offing there. So, and the main thing is here, you want to make it nice and centered if possible. So we have our center line up above, and I can kind of see it from here. And it looks pretty good, actually. And then I also want to add on my little screw tops to this if I can. It doesn't absolutely need it, so if you didn't have those, that's no big deal. But and you could also use any number of things. We could print out on clay. We could actually make a little sign that way. We could use any number of ways of doing this. So you don't have to have these little signs, although I think I might have these in stock as well. I'll check. But yeah, so that's that. And then I'm going to look for my little, oh, here they are. Here's my little screw tops, and I think I'm going to use the traditional screw, I think is what I'll use on it. I also need to match these up. They come right out of here. Okay, I found my little screw heads. They were right on the frame here, and I couldn't notice them for some reason. And then I just need to put on a little more of the gold on those. I also, if this is the wrong color, I want to make sure I get the right color on it so that things match up nicely. I also, while I was off screen, I went ahead and hot glued this on as well because I was concerned that it might not stay on with the glue that I had on there. So, so that is that, and I think we are darn well pretty close to being done. Now, the other thing that I did was I found this, wait, there was one more step that I was thinking about, and that was using some, I think maybe some German glass glitter up at the top and at the bottom. I was going to think about putting it around here because I think it would really enhance it, but now that I have this already glued on, I don't think that's a good idea because the glitter would go into my shadow box and then it would be awfully hard to get it out of there. So instead, I think I'm just going to put a row of it here, and on the top, the other option would be to use some garland, but I think I'll stick with this. I'm using the Glass Tack clear glue that works really well for this. We do have this in stock here at secretgardenmercantile.com, and I'm going to put it on like that, and then I think I'm going to go ahead and use a little brush to spread it out just a little bit on the bottom here so that it covers the entire bottom part. There's quite a bit of glue here, so I probably don't need as much as that, but I'm going to just cover up this bottom part as much as I can with the glue. Just going to kind of paint it on there and do it kind of a thin coating of it. It dries pretty fast, but we should be okay. And here we go. And then my glitter, I need a piece of paper for that. I always want to glitter over a piece of paper so that you don't waste any glitter. You want to be able to put it back in your container. So I'm going to put it on with my left hand because my right hand has a little glue on it. And here it is. This is real German glass glitter, and I just love the shine that it brings. It's so different from the plastic glitters. That, you know, they're much less expensive, but this sure just brings an old world charm to it, and I love it. And these are made, I believe, in Europe as well, so it truly is old world. And there we go. We'll do that on the bottom of it and shake it off a little bit. We'll just kind of tap it off, and there's your glitter. Look at that. Wow. Now that adds some bling to it. So I'm going to go ahead and put this part back into my bag. And I believe we have jars of the German glass glitter available on the website, so you can get your supply of that as needed. And then we're going to go ahead and do the same thing here right up on the top of our piece. I'm not going to use quite as much because we don't really need quite as much, I don't think. But I'm going to just go ahead and paint that on nicely so that it covers that whole, whoops, top piece. It dries clear, so there's no problem that way if you do get it on something. But, all right, and then I'm just going to go repeat that process and sprinkle glitter on it this way. It's just beautiful. I just love it. And let's see, I'm gonna put my brush up here and make sure I don't have anything else on my paper here, and then I'm gonna pour my glitter right back into my little bag of glitter here, so I can keep it for next time. And again, you know, a little bit goes a long ways with this. Now the question will be, should I then add some glitter along these sides? And I kind of like it the way that it is, but part of me wants to do it. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. And for that, I'm gonna use a smaller, I have the same the glass tack glue, I've got some of it in this little small bottle here, and it has, this is one that I got on Amazon, and it's really nice because it has this small little pin hole that it can go, it comes out of here. It has a adapter on the top that makes a really small line, so you can use it for small lines of whatever type of glue you need on a project. So I'm going to go right ahead and start putting that on here on the edge, and just draw my little line along here. And it has, this applicator is perfect for this project, honestly. Works really well. And then along the other side as well. And you know, you never have too much bling. That's actually not true, but at this point on this project, I think it'll really be nice. It's a lovely little Christmas magical little vignette that we're making here, so I think it's pretty special. Let's see. Okay, now we're going to put the glitter on. Try to avoid getting it inside as much as I can, although it's going in there a little bit, but that's okay. Most of that will just shake down to the bottom, so not a problem. Sometimes you have to put quite a bit on, you know, and don't worry about the over pour of it because you're going to save all of that glitter anyway. But in order to get good coverage, you want to make sure that you've got it completely covered with the glitter. And this is the fine German glass glitter, so it sticks into these fine lines of glue quite well. Okay, let's see, I can do it on this side also. Making sure that I don't miss any spots. If you see any little spots of white glue, you want to make sure to get a little more in there to cover it. And there's a spot right up here at the top that I didn't get. You want to be very careful about that, making sure that you get it all covered. I could use my little blower, but I think I'm going to do this carefully because I don't want any more than necessary to go back into that little hole, little opening. So yeah, and it might be a nice touch if you're doing this at home to put your glitter on around this opening if you do want it there ahead of time before you actually glue that in place. So just thinking ahead for that. And now I think I have glued my paper to my workplace here. So that's not too clever, but it's okay. Whoa, here's some wasted glitter there. There, I've got glitter everywhere. I might get some back onto my sheet here, but I don't know for sure. Yeah, I can get it, brush it on here a little bit, maybe. It is sharp a little bit, this glitter, because it is glass, you know, so be a little careful because you can get little teensy little shards into your skin. So you don't want to do that. And you might want to go ahead and wear gloves if you're concerned about it, because it could maybe do little micro abrasions on your skin. Okay, so there you go. But, you know, it has such a beautiful look to it that I just love it. Okay, now, next step, we'll be deciding what we do with the base. I decided that I wasn't going to do this. I was going to put a little something on the back to hold it up, or I was thinking actually of some little legs to hold up the piece, but that just didn't work out when I was experimenting with it. So I thought, okay, I had this little leftover piece. It was an inside piece from something that I did on the laser, some little oval frames that I was making on the laser that I was using molds and so forth on. So I thought, okay, I can glue this to this piece, and then I can put some sort of coating on it. Now, I had thought maybe I could put maybe some snow or something like that on it, or the other possibility would be to use some decoupage paper on it, which would be a brick, maybe, coverage of it. But then I wasn't fond of that color either. So I think really that I would prefer, honestly, to just have the base be probably the same color of the blue or the green. We could do the green, I suppose, to give it a little contrast. But I want to say that I think the blue would be best for it. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and make that decision and go paint this. I already painted a base coat on with the white this morning first thing, and then I'm going to go ahead and paint this second coat over this with the blue. And this is again the Deep Lake is the color of it with Paint Couture. And I really like these paints, so I just called them during one of the breaks, and I'm going to see how quickly they can ship them to me, because I would really like to have these in stock. And I'm going to try to get them in some of the small jars, because I think they are so fabulous for these types of projects. And there's lots of times when I just want to do, and I'm sure we all feel that way, just a small decor project. This is the 2 ounce jar size. The other thing would be to have the 4 ounces for this. I think I'll start off with probably the 2 ounce, just because it seems perfect for these little crafty things that we're doing. And then I might get some larger sizes for bigger projects as well. I really like this paint, and it has a lot of possibilities. It's different from chalk paint. It is an acrylic base. It dries relatively quickly. I don't see a lot of brush strokes in it. I'm doing small projects, but I would expect that it doesn't. It's self-leveling, so that's really good. And I'm going to paint around the edges. I will paint on the back also, because I just kind of did. But it just seems like a really good paint. And it has a matte finish when it dries. And so for furniture projects, that's really good too. And you can always use a top coat on it, so you can use whatever you want. You can use the Paint Couture line of top coats is what we have in stock, and they have glosses, satins, all types of different top coats. So I'm just excited about this as one of the next steps for Secret Garden Mercantile. I had only done the top coats before, but I think I'm definitely headed in the direction of having these as well. So as one of our next steps. So we'll keep you posted on it when we get more in stock of these paints. And I'm just painting on the edge too to make sure we get that. And I'm just going to blow dry it. Okay, I think we're pretty much finished now. I went ahead and I painted the base as you saw, and then I added some of the stenciled stars to it, and also the German glass glitter around the edge of it. And I think it just turned out quite nicely. Let's see, this is a little extra glitter in here, I think, but anyway, and so I wanted to show you the kind of the finished look, and of course I'll stage it a little bit and set it up, but what a pretty little vignette. And this is the special part of it too, is that when you turn on the light, it lights up just so beautifully. So it's really quite a special little project, and just really magical. And nobody will know how much work you put into this if you were to gift it to them, but you'll know, and what heartfelt effort and also just the pleasure of making it is so wonderful. And it is truly the season of magic. All right, thank you, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. And you can certainly go on our website at secretgardenmercantile.com for supplies, and we'll see you soon. I will probably make another one, and it may be a bonus even coming out this week. That's what I'm hoping. So stay tuned. Thank you so much.